Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 92 of the Hangout with Coach Kerry show. I'm really excited about this episode as we're counting down to my 100th episode. And the reason I am is because this gentleman's become a good friend of mine, and I've got an interesting story to tell you about how we actually met. But today, what I want to really pique your interest is what our topic is today. And our topic is what you ought to know about what fulfills you so that you can live your life's purpose. You know, you may be wondering, there's been a lot of discussion about life's purpose. You may have some notions of what that is. You may actually be pretty clear on what it is. Well, I'm going to guarantee you today, Michael's going to challenge you on what your life's purpose is today. So welcome, Michael. Michael, are you able to hear me? Great. Oh, I think we're having some issues with our sound here this morning, Michael. Okay, there we go.
Hey, hello, welcome, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, hello, everybody out watching Hang Out with Coach Kerry here on Monday.
Yes, Monday mornings, 9 a.m. So for the next 8 episodes, you can catch me Monday, 9 a.m. However, after that, remember, all of these are videos that you can get on my website. So you can go to hangoutwithcoachkerry.com and you can watch them that are there. And I will tell you, the person who inspired me to do these shows is my guest today. So that even makes this even more special as we're coming close to my 100th episode. So let me tell you a little bit about my special guest today, because I think this is really important for you to understand who we have today, and that he happens to live in the same city that I do, which is pretty cool. Michael is a best-selling author. In fact, his book, Law of Attraction, has sold over 2 million copies. That's million copies. Wow. And how many of your second book, Law of Connection, Michael, have you sold?
Law of Connection, 800,000 copies, and that's this one right there, in 34 languages. Both of them are in 34 languages.
Unbelievable, unbelievable. And then today our topic is going to be from your new book, The Law of Fulfillment, and I'm sure it's going to be an incredible success as well. Yeah, so lots of kudos. I want to share the story about how we reconnected because, as I mentioned, Michael and I live in beautiful Victoria, British Columbia. For some people, they say this is the best place on earth, and I would agree. We live on a beautiful island. We have lots of green, lots of nature around us. It really is a special place. And I had met Michael quite a number of years ago at a couple of local networking events, and we, really didn't know each other. I knew more of him. And then we happened to be at an event in Vancouver, and I went up and talked to him after, because he was a speaker. I went and talked to him afterwards, and it turned out that we were both going to be flying back to Victoria later that day. And it was a gorgeous, beautiful, I think it was early September day. And we were waiting for the float plane right down in Vancouver's inner harbor. And Michael, do you remember us sitting there chatting and talking and connecting on that flight?
By the time we got off the plane, it was like, whew, we were just full of, we had to open the doors to let some excitement out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we both, we both have pretty big visions for what we want to do and the information that we want to share. And we saw that there was a synergy that was there between us. And well, the rest is history now, as they say. And so welcome again to my episode. And I'm just honored to have you as my guest again today.
Well, congratulations on almost your 100th episode. There is lots to enjoy with your videos. So nice to have that behind, to have such a library of good tools for business folks.
Yeah, absolutely. For really, it's about helping people sort of get to that next level and really break through any barriers that they have there. And so, today, this is a piece of it because as my audience knows, often my episodes that I do myself are often very practical tips and tools. And this will be as well. So for those of you who are used to that, you're going to get that as well. But we're talking about something that actually is really important, and that is what is it that really fulfills us? And so, Michael, I remember hearing you say that you had sort of really identified what it was that our purpose is, so that, and I know that you're going to challenge people on that. I was quite surprised. It was a pretty bold statement. So why don't you take it from there and introduce, where we're going to go today with this topic, with that bold statement that I just made.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Kerry. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. Thank you, Kerry, for inviting me on your show today. I kind of want to do two things today. I want to share some of the behind the scenes about writing a book. I'm here living in Victoria just like you. I don't have a team of people from New York and all that other stuff. So, when I say that I sold 2 million of this book and 1 million almost of that one, it's because they're in 34 languages. I have an agent that does that. Of course, I didn't really want to be in the publishing industry. I wanted to be in the speaking industry. So I wrote a book, and the book became, well, that's the history of the book. So I have been writing this next book for about 4 years. And what was happening is I was hanging out with my friends in coffee shops, and I was hearing them, complain about not being fulfilled at their home or their relationships or at work. And of course, I'm totally fulfilled. And I thought, wow, and then when you're with your friends that aren't fulfilled, it's hard to celebrate your fulfillment because they're not fulfilled. So I'm using the word fulfilled a lot because that's what I was hearing. People were saying that they're unfulfilled. So I coined the term fulfillment needs. So what does that mean? It's needs that fulfill us. Well, how do you know we're fulfilled? When we feel pretty good, right? If we're fulfilled at work and at home, we say, oh, my relationship is so fulfilling. So the name of my book is called Fulfillment Needs. Hey,
how appropriate.
And it's how to uncover what fulfills you so you can live your life's purpose. Remember, I've been teaching law of attraction and training to literally tens of thousands of people in 15 countries around the world. I mean, I've been immersed in this material. And particularly after I wrote Law of Connection, which was very NLP based, I started to see relationship between what fulfills some people depending on the communication style. So I kind of married some information together. So the point that I want to make here is once we uncover what fulfills us, then our life's purpose, and said, I wonder what my life's purpose is. Well, I'm going to make that really simple. And it might be new for some of you. And in other words, people say, well, what's the target? What's the target? What's the purpose of my life? What's the target? What am I aiming for? And, some people would say, well, the purpose of my life is to be a singer, or the purpose of my life is to be a mother or a healer or a doctor or a dentist or a hiker. And what they're really explaining is that when they do that, they're feeling pretty good about themselves when I do that. But I'd like to challenge, I think when people say the purpose of my life to be a singer, being the singer is just a strategy for your life's purpose. In other words, when you sing, you're living your life's purpose. So say it when you say it. So in my world, the purpose in life is the very center of this circle, which is
joy.
Joy. So the purpose in life is joy. Ooh, I know that can rub somebody the wrong way, but guess what? For me, that's a purpose in my life is joy. All the decisions I make would bring me joy. So the question and the next ring around it is, well, I need to create strategies to bring me joy. Not me myself, but maybe the singers of the world, when they're on stage and they're singing and people are, they're getting something met by doing that. Whether it's in front of a stage or whether it's in a senior home or whether it's a little small wedding, those people that love that don't care where it's at. They're all strategies to help them get joy. But sometimes people say that's the only way they can get joy and they don't look at other ways. So let's take a look again. The target is joy. I'm going to go back to our target guy here. The target is joy. So the question is, what do I need to do, or what are the strategies to help me get to joy? Well, you can create the strategies when you know what, in the outside ring, what your fulfillment needs are.
Right.
Well, that kind of makes sense. You mean if I get this need and this need, and people are thinking, or I know they're asking, well, what do you mean by a need? So I have 33 of them. There's lots of needs, as you know, but I've been doing this work for years, so I've kind of narrowed down the most common ones. I'm just going to give you a few of them. Here's some needs. Now, you might want to check in to find out, That's not me. That's okay, right? The purpose of my book is to help you uncover your top 4 fulfillment needs. And when you uncover your top 4 fulfillment needs, then you make decisions to get the needs met. And then you know when you don't like something, because that's when it's obvious, right? It's like, oh, I don't like this job at all. And what you're really saying is, these 4 needs are not getting met. Some people think they might know what their needs are, but most people need the process. And of course, like my other 2 books, it's a process, there's worksheet, there's 5 steps. Yes, 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 you have to do work. That's why it's called self-help, because you need to help yourself.
Right, versus shelf-help.
Yeah. Well, I remember one time here in Victoria, my friend said, will you come to Cactus Club and meet me for lunch? I want you to meet my friend there. He's a waiter, and I think he's wasting his talent. Well, take me to lunch, I'll listen. So I go to the Cactus Club, and the waiter comes over, and he was just like really like in charge. He was just, you know, vibrant. And so my friend, Taylor, introduced me to this guy, and he was getting off at 3 o'clock, and he sat with us. And my friend Taylor was thinking that this guy wasn't being very fulfilled. But what I heard through the whole conversation is that how he was getting fulfilled there. And he was telling me he was, in addition to being a waiter, he was also in charge of, like, you know, the birthday gatherings for the staff and organizing the staff parties, and they were running a contest with all the staff, and, you know, all that social kind of stuff, right? So I just hear him drop little bits and pieces of that. So, you know, I remember I was doing that. Here's the needs. So I was doing it intuitively because I'm listening, and I know some of the things that he wasn't. But I did get a hunch that one of his needs that's on the list would be community. So I asked him, so I said, so I'm going to say a word. I want you to tell me where that fits with you. And I said, community. Well, he was so excited. And just by the word, he just lit up and was talking about the community and how he's built a community. The restaurant was raising money for some event, and he was in charge of all that, and just loved it. So guess what? I'm scanning through my list, and I said, well, how about leadership? Well, I was just nailing them. So then I tested a couple other ones, right? I looked on the list. I said, how about autonomy? Now, autonomy means you don't like to work with anybody. You don't need to. He said, oh, no, I wouldn't want autonomy at all. I hope that's not one of mine. Like, he didn't, you know, because I got the first 2 right, but I tested him on purpose. So by the end of the meeting, we found out that community was important to him, the leadership that was important to him, and influencing people, which is one of my fulfillment needs, was important to him. And you know what? He was in the right, perfect job. And now he works at head office inside that restaurant chain, because once he got clear about what he fulfills, and then he took the next steps and the next steps and the next steps. Hey, so if you're listening, hey, give me an update on what's happening with your life. So
Very cool.
I'm going to show the ring one more time, Kerry, and then then we can ask some questions. In my role, the purpose of life is to experience joy. And I need to find out what are my strategies that are going to help me meet that fulfilling of the joy. Well, first I need to know what fulfills me. And then when I know what fulfills me, it's my meter to help me decide whether I want it or not. You know, in my book, I have a picture of a cartoon of a crane operator, right? And it's a guy working in a crane operator on the big skyrise. And the quote underneath it says, hey, Michael, there is an opportunity for you to double your salary as a crane operator. It doesn't take much training. And I wrote back, I texted back to my friend, and I said, I wouldn't get my needs met there. And he says, but you can make a lot of money. So being a crane operator is totally opposite of what my needs are. But the crane operator, well, let's take a look. Maybe the crane operator likes control. Maybe he or she likes to be in control of that big crane. Maybe they like order and function.
Maybe autonomy, even, because they're working on their own.
Like autonomy.
Yeah.
Work alone, do your own job, right?
Yeah.
And they probably don't need some of these other ones. Recognition. They don't need a pat on the back. You know what their pat on the back is? When they're up in the crane and they can see everything was done by them. So they might not need acknowledgement and recognition, praise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if they didn't like their job, it would be because their needs would be missing.
Right. Yeah, very cool. So, Michael, then for the audience that's listening, either today or on this recording later, if they're feeling unfulfilled, if they're at a place where they're saying, okay, I really want to move into a place where I am feeling fulfilled, where I'm feeling that joy, now that they understand the purpose in life is to experience joy, and
Yeah.
the strategy to do that is to have their fulfillment needs met. How do they actually go about doing that? Let's
Well,
talk about those, because you talked about strategies, and I happen to have my little sign that says strategies right here.
yeah.
So let's talk about strategies then.
Okay, I'm just going to give you I'm going to give you all the ones that start with the letter A, and we're going to
Okay.
pretend that's just the only ones we have, right? Just to make this simple. So, accomplishment, acknowledgement, adventure, achievement, appreciation, attention, and autonomy. Okay, now, you know that I worked for the government for many years, and I liked a lot of it. I liked a lot of my government stuff. I got a lot of training. I did train the trainer, NLP, supervision, all kind, Word, Excel. I'm brilliant with all that stuff. Thank you, government, for teaching me that stuff. But there was other things that I didn't like about that job. So it's not one of the A words. But when I thought about my government days, the parts that I didn't like is when I had to be at my desk for like from 8 to 12. So when I scanned the list, I thought, well, what was missing? Was accomplishment missing? No. Was acknowledgement missing? No. Was achievement? I go through the whole list, and then I got this one. Was freedom missing? Yes. So that's how you kind of figure out. My very first job was, well, first I'm going to quickly tell you what my 4 needs are, and then I'm going to tell you about my first job that my sister reminded me of when I was 15 years old. She said, you called me crying at lunchtime and said, come pick me up. I forgot all about that until she mentioned it. Here's my top 4 fulfillment needs. Now, I kind of put them in order, and then it really helps you make a decision. If you invite me to something and I can meet those top 4 needs, I'm in. Number 1, attention. Now, that might feel yucky to people, but attention to me means attentiveness. So if somebody's attentive to me, I like that. Number 2 is intimacy. Now, intimacy means into me, see. In other words, I don't talk about the weather or cars or sports. I need to talk about this kind of subject. So right now, am I getting my first 2 needs met with you?
You bet.
My third fulfillment need is influencing people in a positive way. I think that's happening too. You said that earlier. So already 3 check marks. And the last one is freedom. So I chose to do this. The time of the day worked for me, and so on. So they're my top 4 fulfillment needs. So let's go through my life. 900 seminars in 5 years, yes. Probably 800 talk show radio appearances. My own radio show on Oprah and Friends, being interviewed by Oprah 4 times, doing book signings, doing hangouts, doing seminars. All of those things get all 4 needs met. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Oh, I say yes to those deals. I say yes to those opportunities.
Yeah. So, it's interesting, Michael, because I have in the past with clients worked a lot around values, and I think there's a lot of similarity between values and fulfillment. I think fulfillment is, semantically, it nails it better than values do. But, one of them for me that has stood out for me for a long time, and you mentioned today, is adventure. And I know one of the things that you and I talk about when we get together for lunch or whatever is, where's the next trip? And I know for me that my life feels joyful. I'm excited when I have my next adventure planned.
Yes.
And missing out on an adventure is painful for me. I want to be part of that adventure. And so I know that for me, whatever I do, I have to make sure that that need is being met for me. Because if it isn't, then my light starts to diminish. I'm less joyful. I'm less excited. Things take more work. Things don't come easily. They don't flow. So that's a perfect example from my life where I would say I could identify that one of my top 4 would be adventure.
Yes. Very good. It's nice to know that. Just hold up a couple things that you said. You said the word values. I've written the word drivers, all kinds of things. But I'm going to tell you what one of the challenges with the word values are. It's in my world, values is a kinesthetic behavior. So now, because I'm just going to take a little dip into my book, Law of Connection. There's 4 communication styles. The kinesthetic style would embrace, you can almost hear the word, they would embrace the word values because it's a very kinesthetic word. So it doesn't grab onto everybody, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, word drivers, I bet you the digital people, the people that like order and they like function, driver, that's a good word. To another style, it could be offensive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want a driver, I want it to be, so you see, but here's why the word fulfillment needs works. Because the word fulfillment needs, there's a presupposition in that word. And it means, a presupposition means to presuppose it's possible. Right. So what I'm presupposing is possible is that there's needs that can fulfill you.
Right.
That's the reason why the title works. The other reason why the title works, because people are used to the word being unfulfilled. Right? They're complaining about being unfulfilled, but people aren't complaining about being having unvalues, right, or undrivers, right? So I just took a friendlier word that we can all appreciate. Now, I also know why this is working. In my book, I have 4 examples. One's a CEO that's making tons of money. Guess what? Doesn't mean she was fulfilled, right? Mm-hmm. So we go through the process with her, and she comes out and she likes adventure, but she's at a desk all day. So now, so on and so on. And then somebody else is an entrepreneur that, it's not finding the right parts of their work to do. So so in other words, different people are finding different ways to get their needs met. And the word fulfillment, of course, is friendly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what's interesting, Michael, is because I don't believe what you're saying. Maybe it's just a good check-in for me that if people are feeling unfulfilled right now, that means that they have to wholesale quit their job or stop their business, or because most of the people watching this are entrepreneurs. Yeah. But what it means is being more intentional about making sure that they're being filled within the environment that they're in. Would that be more accurate?
Creative. When I worked for the government, when I worked 5 days a week, I was building my law of attraction business on the weekend. And I was the first employee in 2,800 employees to go to a 4-day work week. So guess what Friday? It was an F day, all right. You know what day it was? Freedom Day.
Freedom.
So all of a sudden, I could tolerate my Monday to Thursday job at the government. I worked 8 to 4. That was nice. I could be home and doing a teleclass at 5 o'clock, which I did for 2 years. I did both, right? Mm-hmm. When I let go of my Fridays, my Thursday nights became my Friday nights, and my Fridays I was doing network, and that's probably where we met, was on a Friday, because that was the only day I was let loose. Yeah. So, and then that lasted for about a year and a half, and then I got rid of it. But I think the word we're looking for here is transition. Make sure you see transition. I want to show you a quick little, one thing about publishers and being published in many languages. My book, Law of Attraction, which looks like this, only in 3 languages. All the other covers are all different. So, and also the translation is different. So I want to show you, right now my agent from New York is selling all the rights to the book one by one, or, right now a lot of people are signing papers. But there's 3 copies that have been sold: French, Chinese, and Indian. So here is the French copy of the book. Yeah. Which is this book. Right, fulfillment needs. But here's what I like about the word here, that S word. You know what it says? You know what it translates into?
No.
Blossom. It translates to blossom.
Ah, that's interesting.
Now, maybe in French, blossom might mean ta-da, I'm fulfilled, I've arrived, it's like, good, I can live my life's purpose. So, I'd like any feedback on that, but that's what one of my French friends. And, I can read part of it. Your choices to discover your besoin, that means your best. The other ones I don't know. But anyway, once they're translated, it's out of my hands.
Yeah. Very interesting. So, Michael, when people are going through this list, I mean, assuming they're going to get your book and they're going to start going through this list, is it sometimes easier? I'll maybe back up. Often for me, when I have clients who they'll say to me, I don't know what I want.
Yeah.
And so sometimes what they do know is actually they're clear of what they don't want any more of. So from your perspective, is it sometimes easier, for example, for me, I know that autonomy definitely is not one of my fulfillment needs. So I may be able to go through that list and be able to identify, what resonates maybe, but the ones that don't resonate with me, it's probably easier to identify those. Would you agree with me on that one?
Yeah, some of them you won't identify. They won't be part of you at all. So so in the book, I have 33 needs.
Yep.
So instead of having to sift through those, you know what the first exercise is? Just go through the list and say, not me, me, not me, even if you don't even know what they mean. Because we know intuitively. I'll read some more. Security, not me.
Not me either.
No, not me. Prestige, not me. Power, not me. Individuality, not too much. Let's see, fun. Well, although I'm funny, I don't think that fun is a high value of mine, but it's up there because freedom, fairness, and equality. Now, by the way, people that are auditory, these are their big buttons right here. These go right to the top. Fairness and equality. So auditory people, they're usually lawyers. They usually like to argue. They're improvers. They're problem solvers, right? So things need to be fair and equal. Creativity, control, attention, appreciation. So the first step is you go through and you eliminate the ones you don't know. And ideally, your list might go from down to 15, right? So there's 5 phases. The first phase says cross off what you don't know. And then there's worksheets, of course. All my books are worksheets. And then you update your worksheets. Okay, I'm down to these. And then there's 4 more processes that you narrow down the list from, if you say, let's just say you went from 33 to 20, and then down to 10, and then might be down to 8. And by the whole process, you'll get down to 4.
Right. Yeah.
Some of them, they won't be new to you. But I think what's new to a lot of people is that it makes a lot of sense that they didn't like that job because these were missing. Of course, I didn't know that. I'm 15 years old, and I get a job to mow lawns at a graveyard. Okay? So I show up at the graveyard. It's big, and it's empty, and I'm a fat little kid in the heat, and I'm pushing a lawnmower. And so let's go through my list, Kerry. Am I getting my attention needs met? No. Am I influencing anybody in a positive way? No. Am I having intimate conversations? No. And do I have freedom? Absolutely not. It was like a robot, up one road, down the other road. I hated it so much. Now, the part of the story that I didn't know, so my sister, who's also my assistant, traveled with me to do seminars. And one time I'm at a seminar, and I was telling people about my first job and about the lawnmower, and Diane at the back of the room, my sister, said, "Oh, I remember that day. You called me crying at noon to come take you home, but don't tell Mom." So she came to, I was a kid, I was 15. So she came to pick me up, and we ran out of there. I remember us running. I never got paid for it. I never went back. Now, it wasn't about the graveyard. You know, it was about, I wasn't getting fulfilled. And I think about other jobs that I did past. Boy, when I was a waiter at a breakfast restaurant, I super loved it. I was getting all my needs met. I was an awesome waiter. I loved it. I was fun. I was funny. I was witty. And I just loved going to work there. And then you sit back, well, that's because I got my needs met.
Yeah. Yeah. Michael, I'm thinking about after I completed university, one of the jobs I got was an opportunity to work at the local provincial archives. My degree's in anthropology, so it was appropriate that I get this job. And so, but I didn't really at the time have any idea what would I have been, my 22, I guess. And what I did, what my job was. Oh, sorry, Michael, what was that?
I fell asleep at archives.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, there I was, my job. I didn't even ask what my job was really supposed to do. Well, I did, but you know, because I knew that there was some archiving work to do. So they said to me, well, here's what you're going to do. You're going to sit at this desk, and there's all this old microfiche, and you're going to be going through this microfiche and looking for certain dates and things. So I started at 8:30. And at about 8:45, I'm looking at my watch thinking, is it time for coffee? And then at 9, it's still not coffee yet. And 9:15, I mean, I was so bored, and it was a clear indication for me that it was the wrong match for me. And so, you know, autonomy, perfect example of that, is not one of my fulfillment needs. Absolutely not. And in fact, I would say that one of mine is influencing others as well. And I wasn't influencing anybody sitting in front of that thing. I wanted to go and have coffee with somebody and get some energy, and you know. So, so I'm sure our audience today is relating to what we're saying, is that they're looking and saying, okay, I get either past jobs I've had or other things I've done, and I now know why, and now taking a look at where they are right now and what they can do, you know, how can they be creative to make sure that those needs are being met for them, because then everything's so much easier, isn't it, when it's like that?
You just make decisions. I remember one time getting asked to go to China to speak to 9 people for 45 minutes. And they kept throwing money at it, and I thought, that's a long flight, and I would not be satisfied. I would be ticked off after spending 45 minutes in another language, right? I said, there's nothing in there for me. Even the money couldn't get me to go there. And then January 15th, I had an offer to go to China for a 16-hour flight. I stayed 8 hours. I spoke to 1,500 people, and I was a rock star for 24 hours, and I loved it. I had my selfie taken with about 1,200 people, and you know what? I would go back and do it again, and then I got on the plane the next day for another 16 hours and flew home. So you see the difference between making decisions about, so how am I creating my fulfillment? Even, for example, I'm going to San Francisco for my birthday. I don't really have friends there, but I have my favorite neighborhoods, and I like the trolley cars, and I like all the Chinatown and Indiatown and so on. So I thought, well, I'm going to create experiences when I know what my needs are. So I got on Facebook and I said, hey, I'm coming to San Francisco. Who knows where I can get the best red velvet cake? Well, now we're having a red velvet cake party when Michael Losier comes to San Francisco. So you see how I created that, to get a bunch of fans together and meet in a restaurant. And here's what's really important about these needs is that, and it's also a test, is that, am I getting them met in a constructive way? Because when I was younger, I got my attention needs met. Dancing on the speakers at the nightclubs and being a show-off at school. So I got my attention needs met, but a destructive way. So creating this atmosphere of party and fun in San Francisco coffee shop with 4 or 5 people having red, I created that experience, right, to get my needs met in a very healthy way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's really about being much more intentional about what we do. Is when we know what's behind this joy, this purpose that we have, then we can be much more intentional and asking for what we want versus being unclear. And so just imagine how that's going to help our relationships with people when they know that that in order for an experience or whatever to be meaningful for us, those needs have to be met, and how we can help other people meet their needs too. You know, it isn't just about us, but it's how we can, if we know our partner, our husband, wife, you know, whoever, and we're in a relationship, siblings, how we can help them get their needs met. Doesn't that just deepen the relationship we've got and the connection we've got with people?
Yes, let me add to that. In my book, there's a section on couples and relationships, because my needs won't be yours, so I won't be conscious of them, right? So I have a good friend, not a boyfriend, girlfriend, a good friend, who has a very strong need to be acknowledged. And he will keep going on and on and on, and I can say whatever, but he likes to be acknowledged. He likes for me to use the word acknowledgement, and because it's not one of mine, I don't need to be acknowledged, so I have to pull it out of my hat, and I would say, hey, I just want to acknowledge what a great job. Oh my God, he shines like a candle. So, you know, again, it's not my need, but if I want to enhance the relationship I'm in, I would want to satisfy the needs of my partner through understanding what their needs are.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, Michael, let's tell people how they can find out more about you if they don't. And I know that even though this video will be available for people in perpetuity, I know you've got an upcoming live event in Victoria. So let's use this as an opportunity. If there are people here who are interested in finding out about it, tell them about that as well.
It's February 9th at the Grand Pacific Hotel in downtown Victoria. It's a 3-hour seminar. It's going to feel like 1 hour, but you're going to do about 10 hours worth of work. I'm going to give you everything in my book from start to finish on a 10-page workbook, walk you through the whole 3-step process that's in my book, so that by the time you leave there, you'll understand what you need to do, say, or have for you to attract what it is that you want. And like you, I deliver a hangout show. I started a little bit before you, and then you were inspired by me. So I'm on episode 122 right now. And that hangout meets all of my fulfillment needs times 2. All of them get. People say, you're on 120. You've been doing it for over 2 years, and you do it for free? How come? I don't know. Let me check.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's great. And so they can go to your website to find out more, and they can sign up to get notifications on upcoming events as well at hangoutwithmichael.com.
That's right, hangoutwithmichael.com.
And if they want to find out more about your Fulfillment Needs book and how they can get access to that when it's coming out, how can they do that as well?
They can go to hangoutwithmichael.com, and at the tab, there's one for Law of Attraction, Law of Connection, and Fulfillment Needs. Then actually you can go listen to an audio of a class that I did on it. I'll have to take it down once the book gets published, but it's a good time to go grab it now. And I kind of reveal the most of the fulfillment needs and walk you through a couple processes. So if you were intrigued today and thought, oh, I want to know more about this, but I don't want to wait for the book to come out, go to hangoutwithmichael.com, look for the Fulfillment Needs tab at the top.
Great, excellent, good. And then for those of you who haven't watched my episode before, I have a book on my website, so it's hangoutwithcoachkerry.com, Kerry, and my book is How to Get Out of Overwhelm and Accelerate Your Results Now. I think it's a perfect time of year for you to download that book, that ebook, and read it and go through those pieces. And watch for notifications. Actually, when you go to the website and you download that book, you will get notifications of upcoming events and seminars and things that I'm doing. And I have my program called the Strategy Map, which is going to be launched really soon, so just be watching for that. And I'm going to be working on, once you know what fulfills you from Michael's work, then what I'm going to walk you through is how to actually bring that to be in your business world. So practical strategies to bring your vision and your purpose into being with strategies. So Michael, thank you so much for today. It was very inspiring. I had lots of fun. Any last comments for you, my friend?
Well, I do want to show you another graphic that's from my book to remind all of us is that we have a fulfillment meter and we need to keep it plugged. So my question is, what are you doing to keep, see the joy? What are you doing to keep your joy high on your fulfillment meter?
That's a great way to finish the segment, I think, to give people that moment to pause and then to hopefully take action on that. So hopefully that today you have allowed us, both Michael and myself, to meet one of our fulfillment needs, which is to inspire you and inspire you to take action. So thanks again, Michael. I really appreciate your time and all of your knowledge and expertise and sharing it today so openly. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, bye-bye, everybody.